So I just want to get something straight here. You're the one that got the apology out of KSL? This is the second time in 1 month I've done a news article about some stupid left-wing woke thing that KSL, the church-owned news outlet, has done. And it makes me think, if I'm batting 2 stories a month on woke KSL, it's effectively a tabloid. What is this, like the Daily Beast? You know, can we just offload it? Do we have our own Vice News now? Or if we're going to be a tabloid, can KSL just like start following around Utah influencers and just getting paparazzo pics of them? Because it'd be kind of cool to see Kwaku L and them analyzing, you know, whether he's wearing fresh new Nike Airs with his tasteful ensemble. You know, like either are we going to have a church-owned tabloid or not?
This is going to be the best day ever. This is going to be the best day ever. Wake up.
News is always biased.
How is this getting out on a church-owned news outlet?
And she talked about how they wanted to get reactions out of their audience with this type of post.
Do we figure out who wrote it? Was it just some kind of rogue intern?
The following is an episode of Ward Radio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Hey guys, welcome back to Ward Radio News. I'm your host, Cardin Ellis, and today I'm joined in the studio by Luke Hansen, head of Ward Radio News, as well as Tommy Stevenson, one of his pals from the Cougar Chronicle. And where are you working now? The Post Millennial, right, Tommy?
Post Millennial.
Okay, excellent. And I don't really know how to introduce this topic other than saying it seems like KSL, the church-owned newspaper / media outlet, is misbehaving again. Would you guys say that's a fair statement? For those of you that aren't in the know, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormon Church, actually owns 2 media outlets. They actually used to basically own a third, the LA Times. I don't know if you guys knew that, but the church had like a majority stakehold or something like that in the Los Angeles Times.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they only offloaded it in like the late 90s, but it was in like the past 20 to 25 years. They got rid of their like 40% shares in the LA Times. But the church owns KSL, probably the more prominent, at least televised and online media outlet in Utah, as well as Deseret News. Now, recently, whether it's with Michael Knowles or whether it's what we're about to talk about this week, KSL has said kind of just like a lot of cruel and pejorative things that you would think is basically below a tabloid and definitely below a church-owned news outlet, and they keep getting caught for it. And one of the odd questions I'm oftentimes asked as basically the only pro-LDS live stream on YouTube right now is the Mormon Church going woke? Oh, and they'll show me all these different things that basically KSL keeps saying. And so I brought you guys on because Luke here recently wrote a super interesting article on Ward Radio News about the church-owned KSL news coming under fire. I'm going to pull it up so the audience can see it. But it says, church-owned KSL news comes under fire, issues apology for complaining about, quote, Republican Party's antics. And so I wanted to bring you guys on just to tell us what's going on here. I mean, I don't think the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is going woke, but it seems like its news outlets are. Like, what? Tell us what's going on, Luke.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm the editor-in-chief of Ward Radio News, which is like a small startup news company, and I'm the whole thing. I'm the editor-in-chief. I write most of the articles, and then I have to edit my own articles.
Don't out us, Luke. We have a newsroom full of interns, and
we do have other people working for us. But the point of bringing that up is even in kind of this small role that I'm playing in news, I feel like I've got to be impartial about this. Like, I've just got to give both sides of it. I always give these caveats when I talk about the story, like, oh, now here's commentator Luke, it's not newsroom Luke. And then you have like an apparently professional organization that's not just calls itself news like CNN or something like that does, but is actually owned and operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which for decades has had a pretty strong political neutrality stand on issues.
Yeah.
And they're out there doing what they did this past week, which was they posted on Facebook. It doesn't look like this ever went on X or Instagram, but at least on Facebook, KSL News Radio posted a post that says, Utah's Republican Party has been running into tough times. Okay, I mean, it's a little bit biased against Republicans, but if they're running against tough times or running against tough times, fine.
That's a very generalized statement. Yeah, that's not like wildly pejorative. But what followed it was kind of like, huh?
Are you tired of the Republican Party's antics?
Wow.
Which I think across the board, it's not like a super big statement of political bias, but it's clearly like, okay, this is anti-Republican.
Yeah, it's biased.
From an apparently politically neutral newspaper, which is from our very politically neutral church. And so obviously that raised a couple of eyebrows. And Mike Lee was one of them. I think he kind of got on this first, and he said, raise your hand if you dislike the way KSL consistently denigrates conservatives and speaks for the left.
Oh, dude,
and
savage.
Then he added on to that, this isn't a one-off event. This is consistent and systematic that this has been happening.
Wow, dude, I'm looking at this right here, and he straight up gets involved. And this guy's like Mr. Pro-Church, dude. Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Holy smoke.
Mike Lee will somebody posted like, oh, should I burn this book today or tomorrow? It was something along those lines about the Book of Mormon. And he just quote tweeted it and said, read it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was the tweet was like a bait tweet. It was a member of the church that posted that.
Okay.
It got a huge reaction out of that.
Okay, that's funny.
He's posted like defending the doctrine of the Godhead about the Trinity and saying like, well, we can actually understand ours. Like, he gives pretty cool theological takes. He's not just like Mr. Robot, I'm a Republican, Bill 108 needs to pass right now kind of guy. At least on X. So
so what happened? So
he hops in.
Do we figure out who wrote it? Was it just some kind of rogue intern? Was it somebody that was just, got the username and password and decided to write some funny stuff on there, like happened to Justin Trudeau up in Canada? Or was this, demonstrative of a more systemic issue?
So there has to be some sort of vetting process. I mean, it's their official Facebook page. So either they don't have procedures in place that they need to have in place, or this actually went through a couple of people and got posted anyway.
Okay.
And it made a hullabaloo, especially on X. And they eventually took it down and released a statement, which is also in the news article, where they said, this morning, we did not live up to that standard, meaning our standard of political neutrality. In our treatment of the story, we take our journalistic standards seriously, and we're handling the matter internally. So that's all the information they gave about what went wrong and what they were doing about it. But they acknowledged the problem and they deleted the post. And actually, Tommy maybe wasn't explicitly involved with this happening, but he sort of took a part in this story a little bit.
I have some insight into this because I called KSL when I saw this. I think Stags had posted it first, and I was just driving back from a jiu-jitsu class, and I saw it in my car when I got back home, and I said, "Hey, well, I'm gonna call KSL and just see what's up with this." And they did. On at least, I don't remember what her name was. I don't even think she told me the name. But she was trying to justify this on the call. And she talked about how they wanted to get reactions out of their audience with this type of post. And then I said, so would you do this with the Democrat side?
Yeah.
Which she
you got to call out Kamala Harris on Juneteenth just to see if the Democrat Party gets angry or something? Like, what?
But she said, she kept continuing saying, but they didn't have a convention and they didn't have a debate this week, it was like the week of the debate when this was posted. And I said, okay, so how do you define the antics of the Republican Party? And she basically said to me that it was the rule change in the debate of the different Republicans in the primary, which basically muted the moderators. And I was saying that's what your antics are, or that's how you're defining antics for this post. So that's what the conversation was like. And I posted that, and then, or I hung up the phone because she forwarded me to her supervisor. I got a voicemail, and then a few minutes later, then then they put up the statement and changed it.
So why does the church even own KSL if it opens it up to this? Because like, I got to be honest with you, as a Los Angeles Mormon, this just sounds like stupid Utah Republican Party drama, and I'm just like, this is lame. It's stupid. This sounds like the chatter around the water cooler of fat cat lady bureaucrats at the Salt Lake City DMV. Okay, that's what this really sounds like, which is not to be dismissive of Utah's politics. I'm sure it's serious and important over there. But at the end of the day, how is this getting out on a church-owned news outlet? Like, should the church just either put 50 interns on it, like you do anything BYU releases, like you do anything that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints releases, and have it be another sterile, super sanitized, super nobody can be offended, super middle of the road thing that's run to a very high journalistic standard. Okay, so either do that and run it like a church thing, or else just get rid of the dumb thing. Sell it to Time Warner Cable. Like, can somebody be an adult in the room and just make a decision here? But at this point, this is the second time in 1 month I've done a news article about some stupid left-wing woke thing that KSL, the church-owned news outlet, has done. And it makes me think, if I'm batting 2 stories a month on woke KSL, it's effectively a tabloid. What is this, like the Daily Beast? You know, can we just offload it? Do we have our own Vice News now? Or if we're going to be a tabloid, can KSL just like start following around Utah influencers and just getting paparazzo pics of them? Because it'd be kind of cool to see Kwaku L and them analyzing, you know, whether he's wearing fresh new Nike Airs with his tasteful ensemble. You know, like, either are we going to have a church-owned tabloid or not? You know, so what are the tea leaves, man? You guys know this stuff. Tell me what's going to happen.
I think, and we'll see if Tommy agrees with me on this or not, but news is always biased. Like, even if you just report it completely straight down the middle of the road, you're still choosing which stories to report and which stories not to report. Yeah. And so it's like, you can say we're politically neutral, but it would probably be better to say we strive to be politically neutral amongst our 75% Democrat workforce or something like that. Like, not that, and just like be upfront about it, you know? And I think that would go more towards establishing credibility on this type of stuff than just saying like, oh no, we are just purely objectively politically neutral. That's our standard. And pretending as if that's even a thing.
Wow.
And that 100%,
what do you think, Tommy?
like, that 100% just doesn't ever happen. Like, you can't be, like you were saying, politically neutral on everything. Even, like, I'd say this as someone who does news for a living. It's not even just the slant of news. It's like what your choice is, and then also like your citations. Like, who are you looking to in order to get news from, or your resources? Well, like that Michael Knowles piece.
You say you do news for a living. I was thinking you should do like ASMR, bro. You got a great soft voice, like Bob Ross style. Like, you shouldn't read the morning news, like, to get people pumped up. You should be doing like the midnight news, like, today, did you know that something significant happened in Utah? What happened was
just calm them all down.
But yeah, you would just calm them all down, and then they'd slowly drift to sleep, but be in the know and well informed. You should do Utah ASMR news. And you would probably get 100,000 subs and be making easily 6 figures a year, just like, you know, softly Bob Rossing people to sleep. And I got to tell you, you'd make enough money, you could probably buy KSL, because the way they're going, you know, so I just want to get something straight here. You're the one that got the apology out of KSL.
I don't know if I am, because the girl that I talked to was defensive the whole time.
The Republicans kind of gave an ultimatum to KSL, like, look, this needs to come down. It's clearly biased. And they said they had to wait 8 hours. after KSL said, yeah, we're going to respond, they waited 8 hours before it finally came down. And they only waited like 10 minutes after Tommy talked to them. So like just based on that limited data that we have.
Tommy, you should own it. You should own it and just be like, yeah, that was me, man. That was me.
No, I sent out that tweet and I'm thinking like, was this actually me? So I like checked around with some people that I know that are kind of higher up and see if they talked to them. And I knew that the Republican Party had, and I was thinking, but the people that I talked to said they hadn't really done anything.
Okay.
But I'm still not sure if it was me.
Okay, the last question.
I just know that I called and that happened.
Okay, Luke, say what you got to say.
A little live tutorial about how slanting happens in news.
Okay.
So the way that the Salt Lake Tribune covered this was that they said that KSL came under fire for saying that the Republican Party ran into tough times. And then they put that, are you tired of their antics, in the middle of the story. Whereas what I did, and this, you could say this is like the WardRadio bias in the story, was my headline was church-owned KSL News comes under fire, issues apology for complaining about, quote, Republican Party's antics. So I guess you could say I was a little more honest, quote unquote, about what it was that was explicitly partisan about their statement. But then I guess my slant, if you could call it that, was kind of putting it on the church and kind of suggesting with my title that maybe the church shouldn't be involved with this kind of stuff. So that's just kind of how you can take the same facts, cover the story the same way, but just the way that you present information gives your readers a different view of the story than other choices that you might have made. And then Salt Lake Tribune did this whole story about how Mike Lee did a poll if they would rather be waterboarded or have to read KSL every day. They were like, what? Waterboarding was introduced. It's formally defined as a torture by the United Nations.
Oh my God!
It was introduced during the Iraq War and came into popular consciousness when backlash against it happened during the Obama campaign.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so then the last question here before I go, what's this mean? I mean, I feel bad for the modern American media establishment right now. They used to make tons of money off of classifieds before the internet, and that was a major backbone to be able to afford all kinds of goodies like foreign correspondents. People don't realize this, but in every major country, there was a correspondent for the New York Times that was getting in with local newspapers, local officials, local celebrities, and reporting on things that were happening in France, things that were happening in Southeast Asia, things that were happening in Japan, things that were happening in Africa. And it was practically a State Department job, man. You know, like if you went to the embassy in Paris, France, you might end up rubbing shoulders with like an executive from DuPont and a foreign correspondent for the Los Angeles Times. And there was this kind of surplus of good information that would help you contextualize all of the information that you were receiving, right? And the public was more well informed. But then when all those classifieds went away, Craigslist was introduced, that major revenue stream just came out from underneath the newspapers. And the first thing to go was the foreign correspondence. And then the second thing to go was really just kind of like national news that was not sensationalist. And then the number one thing they had to augment was like paparazzi and political garbage, because that was what would get clicks and that was what would get views in a system that they just utterly refused to adapt to. And that's the reason why people like Tim Pool and all of these online news agencies were able to all get a huge rise out of people, because they were actually doing the work that these old systems didn't want to convert to, right? So I kind of feel bad for some of these legacy establishments. But at the same time, I want to know, are you so strapped, KSL, that like maybe we need to talk to the church and give you some extra money so that you can run a more ethical ship and maybe hire some people to like make sure crap like this doesn't happen? Or do we just need to sell you off to the tabloid companies so that we could just put your headline on that one article that the one person writes in New York that ends up in like 55 different newspapers. You ever notice that? How like one article shows up on USA Today in like New York
It's
at 3 a.m.
everywhere.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like the Tennessee Post has it word for word, and you're like, huh, like, all right. So, is that what we need to do? Like, what do you guys are media guys? What's the future of KSL? Are they just understaffed and crappy and either need to get fixed or sold off, or is really this just demonstrative of an overwhelming leftist bias over there?
I think you'd probably have to get rid of it. I think like you could try and balance out the newsroom a little bit more, but there's just so much of that bias in all of news these days. And honestly, if you started to try and do like quotas for, no, we don't have enough conservatives or Republicans, and start explicitly trying to hire more, then that gets in a whole other batch of problems of like, wait, so the church is discriminating against Democrats in their hiring practices, even if it's for like more balanced newsroom. But it just creates a whole nother batch of problems. And I think it's just better for them to kind of get rid of it. And honestly, this is kind of the space that WardRadio is trying to fill, is that WardRadio News specifically is trying to fill. That was your vision for this carton, was that you need a Deseret News, you need a KSL News that is actually going to be pro-church and actually try to be honest about what the biases are and be more of a grassroots movement rather than this from the church above of a thing.
Yeah, like some kind of just oddly neoliberal Mitt Romney sanitized publicity outlet. Hopefully be an actual kind of bottom-up grassroots news organization that at least just talks about what people really think instead of the sanitized version. So, okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Anything we missed? Anything you want to say before we end it here? Anything you want to say before we end it?
Were you going to say something, Tommy?
Oh, I was thinking that they have to adapt to the news as it is now. Kind of as Carden was saying, that going on, like doing live streams, doing other stuff, because kind of, as you said before, trying to fit news into the older systems that all the news outlets have been doing, it's just not working for them anymore. I mean, there's been massive layoffs in media all across the country with, I think it was like the Washington Post, several different outlets that I know of personally. They've all had a ton of layoffs. So they have to adapt, and they have to adapt quickly to what's been happening. Okay.
And before you go, Tommy, first off, thanks for showing up. Yeah. Post Millennial represent what? And second off, is that the vignette from the Book of Abraham behind you? There's a poster on your wall. It looks like, are you just like such a stan for the papyri of the Book of Abraham that you straight up have? Yeah. Do you have the manuscript of the Book of Moses behind you? What is that?
No. So that is the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, shoot. I just hit my own light.
Knock your light over.
If there's any question.
It's made of leather.
Yeah. That's made. Dude, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. It's made of leather.
All right, dude. That's pretty hip. So,
yeah, I think you can get it. I mean, this isn't a planned shout out, but savagegentleman.com. I think they're actually based out of Utah, and they make this and then some other stuff made out of leather, like a punching bag and all sorts of clothes. It's really good.
That is really cool. I have a wallet
from them too.
And you just gave me an idea. I have to make a piece of WardRadio merch that is what's that? Come on, the facsimile of like facsimile number 3 with like Abraham on the bench and everything like that. But we have to make it like Brad and Kwaku and Luke, and then like little clay jar pots can be like, I don't know, Brittany, the ladies show. We should do like our own Egyptian papyri of facsimile number 3 on like this sick piece of leather that people can just like hang inside their dorms in college. You got to admit, that would be a pretty sick piece of merch, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The top half represents the heavens where WardRadio resides. The bottom half represents Mormon Stories where John DeLynn resides. And our little interpretations going down the side.
That is too good. All right. Well, guys, please let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Is KSL going woke, or do we not need to lay at the feet of conspiracy what can be laid at the feet of incompetence? Is this just incompetence of legacy media? And is there a brave new world ahead for news that maybe we fill or that somebody else could fill? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you guys haven't yet, please make sure you check out Ward Radio News by going to wardradio.com and clicking right here on the very top. You can see it, news, right next to the merch column, and you'll be able to get all of the alerts that are written by, all the alerts of the news posts that are written by Luke Hansen here. And make sure you go to the bottom. If you check out the bottom of Ward Radio News, not only can you contribute to the channel, but you can sign up for our newsletter right there and get all of these articles in your very own inbox as soon as they come out. And as always, if you feel generous and you'd like to contribute to the show, make sure you guys check us out on Zelle. You can contribute there, or on the CashApp or Venmo at Ward Radio on both of those platforms. And if you'd really like to support the channel, make sure you check out wardradio.com and buy a shirt for merch or a super cool snapback hat just like this one. As always, guys, this has been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun. For this and more, please make sure you check us out at wardradio.com.
This is gonna be the best day ever. This is gonna be the best day ever. Wake up.